Today on the Rockbridge Report, an update on the coronavirus and what top health officials are doing to stop it.
Students at Washington and Lee face a huge challenge, and it's only days away. Predict the Democratic Party nominee for president before the primary season really gets going.
And today featured some unexpected snowfall. We'll see if there is more wintry weather on the way in the forecast.
And later, we'll learn about a local man who has put a unique spin on the classic bow tie. All this and more coming up on the Rockbridge Report.
Live from the campus of Washington and Lee University with news from Rockbridge County, this is the Rockbridge Report.
Good evening, I'm Lila Kimball.
And I'm Jack Jarvis. The World Health Organization says the coronavirus has spread to 12 countries, and WHO officials warn that it could spread further. Today, China raised the number of deaths from the virus to 170 people. Worldwide, more than 100 additional cases have been confirmed in over 20 countries. World leaders are scrambling to prevent the spread of the illness and protect citizens. The WHO is holding an emergency meeting today to discuss the virus.
The Senate trial of President Trump continues today. Senators asked questions of the president's lawyers and House impeachment managers, but the question of witnesses remains unresolved. CNN's Camilla Bernal reports.
The senator from Pennsylvania, the senator from Montana.
A new question every 5 minutes.
Senator, thank you for that question.
That's a good question.
And each bringing senators closer to a vote on whether to consider witnesses for President Trump's impeachment trial.
I have heard enough. I am ready to make that vote.
But Democrats not letting go of what defense attorney Alan Dershowitz had to say on Wednesday.
If a president does something which he believes will help him get elected in the public interest, that cannot be the kind of quid pro quo that results in impeachment.
Lead impeachment manager Adam Schiff calling the argument constitutional madness.
The only reason you make that argument is because you know your client is guilty.
But Republicans still in lockstep with the defense.
What he was talking about is rooting out corruption and fighting corruption, and that is in the public interest.
And with that, the House managers are running out of time. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is expected to move rapidly to acquit the president if that vote on witnesses is defeated.
They're going to just try to get out of this as quickly as they can.
In Washington, I'm Camila Bernal reporting.
The senators will vote on whether or not to call for witnesses tomorrow. Democratic candidates are gearing up for the critical Iowa caucuses. 4 of those candidates must balance campaign efforts with serving as jurors on Trump's impeachment trial. So how are they juggling campaigning with their responsibilities as jurors? CNN's MJ Lee reports.
The 2020 campaign for the White House colliding with a historic impeachment trial. In the final sprint to the Iowa caucuses, the senators running for president in limbo in Washington, required by the Constitution to serve as jurors in President Trump's impeachment hearings.
I have to be here and I will be here. I'm doing my job.
Senators Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, and Michael Bennet juggling their day jobs and their 2020 campaigns. Klobuchar even flying to Iowa and back Tuesday night after the Senate trial adjourned earlier than expected, squeezing in more FaceTime with voters.
We had a little break in that trial, and I'm sitting there on the Senate floor as I'm watching, and they go, well, we're done. I'm like, I'm going to Council Bluffs.
Warren calling into a teletown hall with Iowans from Washington.
I wish we were doing an in-person town hall. But this is the best we can do. I'm here in Washington because of the impeachment. This is really serious.
The clash of impeachment and the 2020 election creating political uncertainty. Candidates forced to cancel events and make last-minute scheduling changes.
We have had to radically change our schedule in the last week, kind of toss it into the garbage can.
No one thought a year ago that we were going to be in the middle of an impeachment process.
Obviously, it's a big interruption.
They've also scrambled to come up with Plan B, deploying their top political surrogates to campaign on their behalf.
Our job now is to come together.
Klobuchar handing over the controls of her Twitter account to her daughter as she filled in for her mom in Iowa. Warren unable to attend an in-person interview with the Boston Globe's editorial board and calling in via video conference.
There's a certain irony to the fact that you're near my home and I can't even be there.
And Sanders joining his supporters at a campaign rally by phone.
So let us go forward, do everything we possibly can to win the Iowa caucus. Let us defeat Donald Trump.
Voters in Iowa saying the senator's absence from their state comes at a crucial moment in the 2020 race.
Here in Iowa, we like to meet them face to face.
I know that they have a job to do, and I'm glad that that's the most important thing.
That's why you got boots on the ground.
As Trump's impeachment trial dominates Capitol Hill, other Democratic candidates like Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg making the most of their opportunity on the ground.
Thanks for being part of this, and I'll see you on the trail.
Tomorrow, the UK will formally remove itself from the European Union. This comes 1,317 days after the citizens of the UK narrowly voted to do so in their Brexit referendum. The UK will still contribute to the union's budget and follow union rules and regulations until December 31st as part of a 3-year transition plan. Terror attacks in Pakistan have fallen by more than 85% over the last decade. This information comes from Pakistani think tanks, which found that terror attacks dropped from nearly 2,000 in 2009 to less than 250 in 2019. But local global watchdog agencies warn that Pakistan still has work to do on taking measures to curb terror financing and money laundering.
The political spotlight is shining on Iowa this week, but one presidential campaign made a stop today here in Lexington, Virginia. The Rockbridge Report's James Laverty is live from the scene of another upcoming political event with details on a candidate surrogate's visit.
Mike Bloomberg's partner spoke today at the Lexington Democratic Party headquarters to a crowd of about 50 people. New York news organizations used to refer to Taylor as New York City's de facto first lady when Bloomberg was mayor. She spoke to the crowd about campaign issues and the Bloomberg campaign strategy to win the nomination and defeat Donald Trump.
He's only been in it for a short time, a couple of months, and he's right in the mix. But that's a really good question. And the answer is that he thought about it really hard a little over a year ago, but he looked at the field and said, you know what, somebody in this field is going to be able to beat Donald Trump. And as time went on, that person did not emerge.
No Democratic candidate has won the nomination without winning either Iowa or New Hampshire. Mike Bloomberg is not trying to compete in either. He's looking to change history and win the nomination with a new approach.
James, we note that you're in front of Duchossois Tennis Center, site of the quadrennial mock convention. Every 4 years, Washington and Lee students hold a mock convention to predict the presidential nominee for the political party out of power in the White House. And James, that's a tough assignment, isn't it?
It is. It is still a extremely large Democratic field, but the mock-con political team right now is honing in on their selection, trying to make another accurate prediction. Washington and Lee University students have been wrong only twice since 1948 in predicting the presidential nominee of the out-of-party power. 12 years ago, the mock convention said Hillary Clinton would be the Democratic nominee. Democrats went with Barack Obama.
There definitely is a lot of pressure considering, especially that our last Democratic primary, 2008, we got wrong, so we definitely want to correct that record.
Nearly the entire student body participates in some way in mock-on. Students are first divided into state delegations that conduct research about the candidates. The delegations report to the 7 regional chairs who coordinate that research. The regional chairs are overseen by a political department which has 5 members. Based on all of that research, the political team makes the prediction. Democratic Party analyst Luke Basham described an intense process.
We want to just exhaust every possible method we have for doing research and for just studying the political landscape, for lack of a better term. We don't want to look back on this process and wish we had done more.
Basham says this year's crowded field has made it more difficult than previous years to make the selection.
It's also worth remembering that I believe the 2020 primary, we're looking at something that is in a sense unprecedented.
But Basham says the field is narrowing. Former Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Bernie Sanders are ahead in the polls.
They've just kind of been bouncing back and forth. Biden between 25 and 35 and Bernie between 15 and 25.
MockCon begins 72 hours after New Hampshire's February 11th primary. The Iowa caucus is first on February 3rd.
We will be watching closely. We will really be trying to hone in on what
is what comes out of those.
But the team already seems honed in on what they're going to do come convention weekend.
Something seriously drastic would have to happen in order for serious changes to be made to our prediction.
But there are never any guarantees for MockCon.
There's no stone that we're going to leave unturned. We've done the work in order to be successful. Now, whether that pans out remains to be seen. But at the end of the day, I am able to sleep because I know that this team worked as hard as they possibly could towards the eventual goal of getting the nominee right.
I'm standing here outside of the Duchess Watt Tennis Center where the convention will be held. Right now, the team is keeping a lid on the keynote speaker, but they have announced that former DNC Chair Donna Brazile, former Senator Joe Donnelly, and advisor to the Joe Biden campaign, Simone Sanders, will be among them. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm James Laverty.
Later on the newscast, find out what Lexington City Schools leaders are planning to keep students safe.
We've been seeing some unseasonably warm weather the past couple of days, and yet today it snowed. Tune in tonight to find out more about what we can expect in the coming days.
And later, we'll tell you about a local man who turned his trade of woodworking into a fashion statement. Coming up.
Lexington City Schools may have a school resource officer in place as early as this summer. After surveying residents last fall, the school board decided to move forward with the resource officer program. Tim Diet, chair of the school board, says the program is likely to be incorporated in next year's budget.
We are in the process of reapplying for and looking at other sort of grant opportunities to help fund sort of the first couple of years, but the assumption is that after a couple of years it would need to be in the city budget through the police department's budget, so it wouldn't actually come out of any of the school funding.
The school's operation director, Jason White, says even if the school board's grant is denied, the city's budget should be able to fund the resource officer for next year. BARC Electric Cooperative is spending $15 million to install broadband internet in 2,200 homes and businesses in Rockbridge and Bath counties. The money is in addition to a $2.2 million grant from the state and $4,000 from Rockbridge and Bath counties. Tish Blackwell, a communications specialist at BARC, explains why the cooperative began the project.
The reason that BARC embarked on that project really was because of the lack of broadband in the rural areas where we provide electric service. So we had a need for it. We knew our consumers also had a need for it, and we decided to launch our own broadband project.
BARC is installing internet in Glasgow, Buck Hill, Buffalo Forge, South Buffalo, Vesuvius, and Big Hill.
Jack, Avalon, did you notice the beautiful snow we had this morning?
Yeah, it was awesome to go outside and see the winter wonderland this morning. Avalon, are we going to get some more snow this weekend?
Sadly, no, but we are going to get even more beautiful weather that is slightly warmer, which I think all of us will prefer a tiny bit more. Right now, we are live in Lexington's ropes course at WNL in their back campus. And right now, let's look at the current conditions. Right now, we have a high of 41 degrees and a low of 30 degrees, which feels a little bit more like 40 degrees right now. And we also have a barometric pressure of 30.21 inches of mercury, which makes for a pretty day, even though we did have some snow flurries earlier today. Right now, we have a wind speed of 2 miles per hour and humidity is sitting at 67%, which is still a little bit mild despite the snow that we had earlier today. Continuing on, we also have, let's look at our radar. We do see that there is a little bit of rain coming in and from the system, but we already saw most of that, so it is pretty clear, which will explain the rest of our current conditions. Right now, it is sitting at 40 degrees for most of the cities surrounding Lexington, although Stanton is at 33, but everyone is cloudy, so we are going to see a little bit better weather, thankfully, in the coming days. Right now, on Friday, we will have a high of 48 degrees and a low of 33. Thankfully, that will go up a tiny bit more on Saturday. Still cloudy with a high of 51 degrees and a low of 36. That trend will continue on Sunday and Monday with highs in 50s and 60s. And that will taper off a tiny bit on Tuesday with a high of 64 degrees and a low of 49. That's all I have for you guys today. Thanks, y'all.
Wow, it's unfortunate that we aren't going to have any more snow this weekend, but what can I say? Next on the Rockbridge Report, we'll tell you everything you need to know for the big game this weekend.
And later in the newscast, tired of wearing a traditional tie or bow tie? We'll show you where to go if you want to make a fashion statement. Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. So Lila, Colin, we got a big game coming up this weekend. The San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs have made it to the Super Bowl. Lila, who do you have winning on Sunday?
You know, I'm really excited for the game this weekend. I think that the 49ers are going to pull through. What do you think, Colin?
I'm going to have to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I believe in Patrick Mahomes and that offense. I think they'll have too much firepower, but we'll see. I think it is going to be a great game, one of the best we've seen in recent history. Super Bowl 54 between the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs kicks off at 6:30 this Sunday on Fox. The game will feature the Chiefs' high-powered offense led by quarterback Patrick Mahomes against the Niners' exceptional defense led by cornerback Richard Sherman. The Chiefs opened as a slight favorite, but experts are saying this game could be a toss-up. Both Washington and Lee basketball teams picked up victories last night. The men beat Emory and Henry 100-87. The team hit 18 three-pointers on the night. That tied a school record for most three-pointers made in a single game. The men's team has now won 10 of their last 11 games. The Washington and Lee women kept rolling as well. They beat Shenandoah 65-57 and extended their win streak to 8 games. In local sports, the Perry McClure boys basketball team has won 6 out of their last 7 games. The Fighting Blues picked up a 66-34 victory over Highland County on Monday and improved to 7-0 in Pioneer District play. The Lady Blues are rolling and have now won 3 in a row. They picked up a dominating victory last night, beating Craig County 78-11. The Rockbridge County High School boys basketball team split their games last week. They beat rival Waynesboro 51-43 on Friday and lost to Harrisonburg 52-49 on Tuesday. The Lady Wildcats have been struggling recently and dropped a pair of games last week. They fell 76-51 to Fort Defiance on Saturday and lost 64-48 against Harrisonburg on Tuesday. That's all I've got for sports, guys. Back to you.
Thanks, Colin. Local craftsman Gabriel Leisure received a novelty wooden bow tie from a friend. Now he puts his own twist on the unique neckwear. Rockbridge reporter Isaac Thompson shows us how Leisure does it.
Gabriel Leisure was born and raised on a farm outside of Lexington. His parents taught him from a young age about the importance of building and fixing things. Woodworking has been Leisure's trade for most of his life. Recently, he made his debut in the fashion world. His product? Wooden bow ties.
I kind of got into that kind of by accident. I'm used to working with my hands, but a friend of mine gave me a wooden bow tie. I loved wearing it, and I was like, I bet I could make one of those, so I tried my hand at it.
Using a stencil, Leisure first draws the shape of the bow tie on a piece of wood and cuts it out with a jigsaw. He then refines the bow tie using a belt sander.
This can kind of feather that out and make it a little more uniform.
Next, he uses a hand sander to make the finishing touches.
So right now I'm not really trying to remove much material. I'm not changing the shape of it anymore. I'm just polishing what's there.
Once this step is completed, Leisure uses a lacquer to stain the bow tie. He lets it dry for a few days before he glues a fabric strap to the back of it.
From there, I can do other modifications to it, depending on what I feel like I need to create.
While most of Leisure's bow ties are wooden, he also makes them out of other materials, like circuit boards and Legos. You can get your own at Earth, Fire, and Spirit Pottery on Washington Street. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Isaac Thompson, reporting with Sophie Kidd.
That's it for the Rockbridge Report. Thanks for watching.
You can stay current on the news in Rockbridge County by typing rockbridgereport.wlu.edu. Have a good night, Lexington.